Welcome to the Period Besties podcast with Stasha and Katie. Think about it as chatting with your best friends about all the TMI stuff you've never talked about before with two period coaches who've been helping hormones collectively for over 20 years now. I'm Stasha.
And I'm Katie, and we're pulling back the curtain on what it's like in the world of menstrual coaching, from puberty to menopause and everything in between. We're here to show you how period coaching can save the day. We'll share practical tips and information you can put to immediate use to improve your hormones and happiness.
We're removing the mystery, ending the taboo, and shining a light on just how powerful period coaching can be.
So whether you need period coaching or are considering becoming a period coach yourself, these episodes are going to help you. We'll share stories, coach live on air, and bring smart, savvy guests to share their wisdom too. Let's start today's episode.
Welcome to the last episode of season 1 of the Period Besties podcast. Oh, thank you so much to everyone who's been listening for our first season, our first year. This is our recap episode. We're going to do some top favorite episodes, top listen to, all sorts of good stuff. And we're going to be doing a giveaway on our Instagram to celebrate this very first season of the Period Besties podcast and how much success we've had with it. We're just so thrilled. Thank you to all of you, because obviously it wouldn't be a success without you listening. So thank you so much. We're going to be taking a break over December and January. So this is a great episode to listen to if you want to go maybe catch some highlights over the next 2 months before we regroup in the new year for the second season. We also have a special request for you. Please send us in topics that you'd like to talk about, questions you'd like answered, so that while over the break, while Katie and I will be working behind the scenes on the second season, we can put your questions in, we can topic ideas for the next year, all those good things. So please feel free to Instagram, DM us, or Facebook, or email us. The email is in the show notes, however you want to. But please let us know if you have any ideas or things that you'd like us to talk about in season 2. So without further ado, do you want to kick us off with the top episodes, top listen to episodes? Although I should say asterisks, we're recording this before the last few episodes go out. And obviously the last few episodes won't have as many views as people who were at the very beginning. But overall, in general, these are our top ones.
Yeah, definitely. So this is our 51st episode, which is incredible. So again, thanks everyone for listening and just being so supportive and sharing and talking about it. And it's been so fun. I really loved this whole journey this year with you. All right. So top episode. So Dr. Laura Bryden is our top listened to episode. And she's just such a wealth of knowledge. I love listening to her. I loved our conversation with her. Obviously, we talked about ovulation, and it's such a hot topic. We talked about progesterone, but it was great. I think she was one of the first 3 people that got back to us and was like, yes, I would absolutely love to be on your podcast. So thank you so much, Dr. Bryden, for always being such a big supporter as well. We really appreciate you for taking your time and being with us on this podcast. It was really great.
And we've already asked her to come again. So,
yes. So stay tuned. She will be back because I want to talk to her more about this whole progesterone thing with perimenopause too, because we were talking mostly about like ovulation with her, and definitely want to have her back talking more about her new book and about progesterone. Then we had Lisa Henderson Jack, who was our very, very first interview. And I remember that first interview being like a little bit nervous because we were putting something new out into the world, and it flowed so well that afterwards I was like, Stasha, like we've got something here. This is actually when it felt like in flow. And I was like, this is awesome. Because you and I had just been recording episodes ourselves. And this was the first time we had we've done interviews together before. We did the Womb Wellness Summit together, but this was just the first one for the podcast. And afterwards, we were both like, yes, this is awesome.
Yeah, I remember very distinctly being like, this is the first time we're going to ask those lightning round questions to somebody. How are they going to take it? Like, is she going to hear these questions and be like, what is wrong with you? But it turned out everyone really liked them and they had such fun with them. So I don't know, maybe we should make a new set of lightning round questions for season 2. Ooh.
We definitely should. We definitely should. Because now I want to know different things about people.
Right. Same.
Especially if we have the guests on again. Like
Right.
we definitely have to do that. All right. Then we had Holly Grigspell, who is a dear friend of ours. And I didn't know this, but she doesn't do interviews anymore.
Yeah. Right.
So her saying yes to us was so very special. And we're so grateful for her. She wrote Sweetening the Pill. She was one of the very first people who was investigating the birth control pill and like what it was doing. And she no longer does interviews. So that was awesome that she said yes to us. We had the best time. I could listen to Holly speak forever. She has an English accent. Like, I just love her. I miss her. We used to have these dinners and lunches together, all of us in LA. And right before I moved, she and I went to dinner, and I haven't seen her in like almost 2 years now. She's a dear friend and we love her dearly. And we're so grateful that she came out of retirement, interview retirement
It made it into the top 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So obviously she's talking about something people want to hear about.
Yeah. So that was awesome. Okay. And then fangirl moment over here, Ricky Lake and Abby Epstein, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I went to see their documentary together, We the People.
Yeah.
That must have been 6 years ago.
Oh yeah, that was a hot minute ago. Yeah.
I don't know, 6, 7 years ago. I feel like everything.
Yeah. And I remember
really
you telling me to bring Kleenex because I was going to need it. And I was like, okay. And oh my God, were you right? Weed the People was one of those movies that you need a box of tissues to watch for sure.
And then they were talking about the documentary. At the time, it was Sweetening the Pill, right? But now it's The Business of Birth Control. And that was the first time that we got to talk to them and interact and meet them. And they were both so lovely. Yeah. And then Stasha, you actually sponsored The Business of Birth Control premiere in LA.
Yeah.
And you got to meet them too.
Yeah, Period Coaching School, technically. That was on the banner and on the big screen, which I have to tell you, what a surreal moment to see Period Coaching School on a movie theater big screen. It was one of those moments that I will, on my deathbed, I hope that's one of the moments that plays as my life flashes before my eyes, because it was such a cool moment to see the Period Coaching School coat of arms up there on the big screen, just being so loud and proud. And I was just, it was such a good moment.
It was. And I was like taking all these photos and like, go this direction, go this direction. But then we reached out to them to be on the podcast. You did. And they both were excited, said yes. Yeah. And I was sweating the whole time because I was like, I grew up with Ricky Lake.
Yeah.
Hairspray, watching the Ricky Lake show, and also really admiring Abby Epstein as a female director and all of the projects that she's been doing. And yeah, it was awesome.
And it was our first Period Besties episode. So it was the first episode where we had 2 besties on so we had 4 besties all together for the interview. So it was our first Besties on Besties episode.
Yes. And it was just amazing. And then the 5th highest episode was our cycle overview.
Yeah.
The 5 phases of the cycle. And what I love about that, it's top 5 phases, but also that where people are interested in really diving in more and learning about what's happening throughout the cycle, hormonally, emotionally, right? Why we're more tired, why we have more energy, where's our libido, all of those things. I love that that's the top 5 episode of this first season, because that tells a lot about what you're all interested in learning more about, what sparks that interest. Hopefully all of you that listen to it, it really helped you rethink how you're planning your month out and how you're showing up every day and really getting what we've been trying to say all along It's not you, it's your hormones.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It is kind of the basics, but it's like the bottom of the food pyramid or the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy. Like it is the foundation. And I'm so glad that one of those foundational episodes is in that top 5 because it really shows that people are ready for learning. And maybe it is letting yourself off the hook or understanding why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and that just greater understanding of self is really what we're trying to do here in a way, and that the menstrual cycle affects everything. So when you understand the menstrual cycle, then everything about yourself opens up and you can really understand why you're thinking, feeling, moving, everything, craving, whatever it is, but you can really understand why those emotions or thoughts or whatever are coming up. And it is the foundation of, I personally think, I always say my superpower when I do live speaking for events or people's communities or whatever, I always go, well, my superpower is I can put anything in flow. So if you want to do something fun, like I'm your trick pony, just have your audience ask me questions like, put this in flow. I want movement in flow. I want food in flow. I want working in flow, whatever it is. But that is my superpower. So I love that basic foundational piece is in our top 5 from this season, because that really shows that we're onto something there. Now, of course, we didn't want to pick the top 5, but Katie and I also did a little roundup of our favorite top 5 episodes, excluding the popular ones so that we didn't have repeats. But we were talking about what ones were just the most fun for us to record, to what we learned, something to that effect. And I said immediately, one of my top favorite episodes was the Q&A episode. So we had a lot of people asking questions about perimenopause, which actually kicked off a lot of perimenopause discussion on this second half or last quarter of the season, because we had so many questions about that one topic. So we just decided, let's do a perimenopause Q&A episode. And I loved it. There's just nothing that I like more than directly helping. So when you all sent us your questions, it was like, this is it. This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to help, to answer questions. So for me, it was like such a soul fulfilling episode that I hope next year we can do more of those. But of course, that means you as the listener sending us your questions.
Yeah. Make sure you're following both of us on social media, because we'll be doing more polls and asking questions and answering them. Maybe we should definitely do one at least like once a quarter if we're kind of like thinking about that way, for sure.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I loved it. It was really absolutely one of my favorites.
Yes. I loved the live coaching session we did with Stacy, the mint chip mama. First of all, she's a hoot. I loved chatting with her. The moment that I talked to her on the phone to see if she would like to be part of this, I just instantly clicked with her, and she was so real. And I just loved it. I just loved how real she was about talking about what was going on with her life. We both decided as moms, we have like sometimes little demons in our bodies where we like can't control our rage, but it's okay. And I just feel, first of all, not only were we able to help her a lot and put things in perspective and give her a lot of next steps, she's going to come back in the spring. So we'll have her on and she'll let us know how she's feeling, what worked, what she's still trying and seeing. But I thought it was one of the best live coaching calls that we had. And I hope that part of this is also encouraging for all of you. If you're going through something as well, come on the podcast with us. We have lots of fun, and be a guest. Like, we would love, we're definitely going to be opening that up for everybody to join. So if you enjoyed listening to her episode, come and be a guest and you'll get tips. And we're going to listen to you. We might be the only people that are listening to you right now. We're going to give you some easy, realistic next steps to take that will take time, but will make a really big difference. So I just love that. She was so fun, but also I feel like she's really big encouragement for everybody to get answers and seek out answers and get support.
Yeah, I had a real tough time choosing between the live coaching because they were so different and they were such different topics. And I just thought, gosh, these are important for all sorts of people, just in different ways. Yeah, the live coaching was such fun. And I do love that I'm getting messages, little updates from our live coaching people. So do feel free to come on and get some live coaching and follow up and keep in touch with us, because that's what's happening. And I'm absolutely adoring it. Yeah. One thing that Katie and I both, when we were doing our top 5 episodes, we overlapped with was the charting versus period tracking episode. We both were like, oh my gosh, this one. It was such a fun episode to do, just to be able to really kind of nerd out. Like, it's definitely a nerd out episode on the differences between charting versus period tracking and how essential and important they are, and how different ways of charting and period tracking and all those kinds of things. So I really enjoyed that episode. It was something that I feel that we talk about in period coaching school all the time, but I don't really have that opportunity to talk about it necessarily outside with somebody else and out in the world. So it was fun to have that conversation with you and to be able to put it out in the world for other people, not just the students, to learn and listen to.
Yeah, because it's definitely a new perspective. Everybody is talking about tracking, using apps, using the devices, the wearables, but breaking it down and charting. And it's always been really beautiful. You make these like mandalas and coloring, and it's just a different way of really being more in touch with how we're feeling and what we're experiencing that you can't really get from wearing a device. Or so I think it's just like a really cool way to look at the cycle and bring a little bit of creativity and art, and because that's also stress reduction. Coloring is one of the best ways. Sometimes I'll just sit with my kids and color, and I'm like, oh, this feels so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed that. And actually, one of the interviews that we did that was really different was the interview with Arlie from My Period Pal. And this was somebody who was creating a physical product in 2020 and all of that drama, the great panini of 2020. So I found that episode to be really fun and different, much like the charting versus period tracking. It was something new. It was something different. It was something unique. And I found that one to be a really interesting episode as well, because as somebody who has tried a lot of things to deal with period pain, it was a good one. I found it really interesting, and another layer to my toolbox of dealing with the endometriosis. Anything that I can add in that does another layer of helping reduce the pain or anxiety, I'm all in for. So I found that one particularly touching for myself with endometriosis and managing period pain. And of course, I have clients that have period pain because we've all been in the same boat. So a lot of my private clients are people with some version of period pain. So it was just nice on a personal level for me, I felt like, because it was just another tool I can put into my toolbox for myself and for my clients that are dealing with navigating that painful period issue.
Love that. Yeah. So where were people listening? Where are our top listeners?
Oh, yeah. So our top listeners were obviously the United States. We're both in the United States, so that makes a lot of sense. And it was by a lot, the United States. But then it was actually the next several were very close. So Canada was number 2. Right behind Canada was Australia at number 3, which also makes sense. I've done a few tours through Australia, and I love my Aussies. And then the next 4, Ireland, the UK, India, and France were just one listener apart. So I was going to do the top 5, but then I saw that they were only one apart. And I thought, well, no, we'll just we'll do these because they all deserve a shout out.
So interesting. India does a lot of studies on women's health. So I love that we're reaching them in India.
Yeah, period coaching school usually has at least one person on the BIWOC scholarship, which is Black Indigenous Women of Color scholarship from India. I know the conversion rate can be really tough, so that helps as well. We don't usually have at least one person from India in period coaching school, which I think helps bring listeners in from India. Although we do have a couple Ireland, UK, and we do have one person from France. So I don't know if that makes a whole big of an impact on the podcast, but I wasn't too terribly surprised to see India on there just because we almost always have somebody in period coaching school. So somehow India has got the word out about period coaching school since 2020 when we launched it. And we've kind of kept some level of connection between India and period coaching. So I was not terribly surprised to see them on the list, but I was a little surprised to see them as high on the list as they were.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I love it. I love that we're worldly. That's awesome.
Yes. And so before we head off, I just want to remind you all that in December, Katie and I are going to be doing the Instagram giveaway for a free seat at the table for our live Nourish and Flourish workshop in that'll be in beginning of February next year. So when you get chosen as the winner, you'll definitely get all the details on when and where and all that good stuff. But yeah, so we're going to be doing that giveaway over the month of December. So do keep an eye out on our Instagram accounts for that giveaway. It's a really great thing. We ran it in October this year and it was so good. And everyone there just had aha after aha. And we're like, everyone that was there asked when we were running it again because they had people they needed to refer to it. And they were like, oh my God, I have to tell all my friends, this was amazing. So we got really good feedback from it. We got great testimonials from the people who were there live or watched the recording afterwards. Of course, there is a recording. So if you can't make it live, you can do that. And we'll kick that off in February so you can start the new year off with a good idea of what you should be eating for the year to come and how and all that good stuff.
Love it. And also, if you have some lightning round questions that you would love to know about the guests that we have on, send them our way.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that could be really fun. If you're like, I've always wanted to know this about somebody, let us know because we'll definitely add that as we're going to redo the lightning round.
Oh, I love
and thank you all so much. If you have any extra time, you're driving to visit family over the holidays, you're going to go on a little bit more walks, listen in, check out some of our favorite episodes, or just go search and see who we've interviewed and what topics interest you and listen along. And thank you all so much for being a part of our first season. I can't believe it's over. Wild, right? But had the best time with all of you, had the best time with you, Stasha, and can't wait to see you back for season 2.
I can't wait. Thanks everyone so much. You've been absolutely just a delight. Thanks to everyone who's been listening. And we will see you on season 2 in the new year. That will be coming out in February 2025. So we'll see you then. Bye for now. A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bressack Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bressack, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebressack.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.